out! You are trespassing! Get out!
I'm so sorry.
Get out! Are you deaf?
Okay. I was leaving.
Get out!
I was leaving.
Shut your face and get out!
Was something I could never have expected.
Get out! Are you deaf?
Within minutes, I found myself staring down a shotgun. Here's what we know about that fateful day more than a month ago when Gus went missing. Gus was playing on a pile of dirt outside the property that afternoon. Grandmother Shannon discovered Gus was gone when she went to call him inside for dinner at around 5:30 p.m. The family reported him missing 3 hours later. Shannon was inside the homestead looking after Gus's 1-year-old brother Ronnie when the little boy vanished. It has been reported that Gus's mum Jessica was with Josie looking for lost sheep around 10 k's from the home.
On a remote sheep property in South Australia, the search for 4-year-old Augustus Gus Lamont has reopened wounds and tightened nerves. More than a month after he was last seen playing near the homestead at Oak Park Station, investigators and volunteers have returned to the land again and again, trying to turn small details into a coherent timeline. The most recent wave of searching has been tense. A local reporter, Jonica Bray, was confronted while covering the renewed effort and threatened by a family member armed with a shotgun. That incident captures how raw this moment has become. Grief, fear, and suspicion swirl together in a place where people know one another's business and where privacy is now nearly impossible. The presence of a weapon and the anger directed at the press are not just flashes of emotion. They make it harder for witnesses to speak, complicate media access, and put extra pressure on investigators trying to piece together what happened in the crucial minutes that matter. The basic facts are heartbreaking in their simplicity. On the afternoon of September 27th, Gus was playing outside near a dirt mound at the family homestead. His grandmother, Shannon, called him to dinner around 5:30 p.m. and realized he was missing. Family members searched the yard and nearby paddocks themselves for hours before contacting police, a delay that investigators now treat as a central fact to reconstruct. In remote country, a delay of 3 hours can be decisive. Footprints get softened by wind, small objects get disturbed by people and animals, and heat patterns that help aerial detection fade. Understanding exactly who moved where and when in those first hours is essential. Detectives are not assigning blame for private searches done out of instinct and love, but they must document those movements to know what evidence, if any, could still be recovered and which areas might have been unintentionally contaminated. Family circumstances and movements add complexity to the story. The mother, Jessica, was reportedly out tending sheep roughly 10 kilometers away from the homestead at the time, a common task on stations, but one that shifts responsibility for immediate supervision to others. The grandmother has been publicly identified as the last person to see Gus, while the whereabouts that afternoon of Gus's 1-year-old brother Ronnie have been unclear to neighbors, which has intensified local questions. The father, Joshua Lamont, lived some distance away in Blythe North and reportedly learned of his son's disappearance when police contacted him. He has since refused media comment. Public silence from key family members naturally fuels curiosity and suspicion, though silence can mean many things in trauma: shock, desire for privacy, or a wish to cooperate only with detectives rather than the press. For investigators, the practical work is precise and unemotional. Log calls, check phone metadata for timestamps, compare vehicle movements, and interview neighbors in a structured way to turn human recollection into verifiable timeline fragments. The search itself has been extensive and exhausting. In the early days, dozens of volunteers joined police, state emergency service teams, Aboriginal trackers, and aerial crews to sweep the surrounding country. The land is open and featureless in stretches, which both helps and hinders. It provides fewer hiding places, but also offers less to guide someone trying to reconstruct a path of movement. Searchers walked lines through scrub, scanned gullies, and examined low-lying hollows where a small child might shelter or stumble into danger. Drones and helicopters were used where atmospheric conditions permitted. Trackers looked for microdisturbances in the soil and vegetation that machines cannot see. Yet despite all this effort, physical evidence has been scarce. No clothing, no continuity of footprints, no personal objects directly tied to Gus have been recovered. The only early physical mark that drew attention was an isolated, child-sized footprint about 500 meters from the homestead. It was photographed and logged but later judged inconclusive by forensic reviewers. The lack of clear, persistent traces makes every investigative step harder and every rumor louder. Police have publicly said they currently see no suspicious circumstances, a phrase meant to convey that the initial evidence does not point to criminal activity. But captions and cautious official language do not silence the many unanswered questions that persist in the community. The absence of clear evidence of wandering, animal attack, or abduction leaves multiple plausible scenarios open, and that uncertainty breeds speculation. Investigators have had to balance transparent public updates with the need to protect the integrity of inquiries that rely on careful evidence collection. That balancing act becomes more fraught when the family refuses media interviews and tensions on the homestead run high, as happened with the reported shotgun incident. Investigators still have powers and protocols. They will re-interview, recheck statements, pull phone and vehicle logs, and follow up any new credible tip. But the public's appetite for immediate clarity often outruns what methodical police work can deliver. The shift in operational focus has been telling. After initial, wide-ranging sweeps produced no breakthrough, police scaled back the visible, broad search and shifted to more targeted investigative measures. This included a third wave of searching that concentrated on the property's 4.5-meter dam and other water features, places that, in rural tragedies, are unfortunately common sites of accidental immersion. That decision shows a vital truth about these operations. The first frantic days prioritize breadth to try and find anyone alive. Later phases gather depth, systematically re-examining the most likely hazard zones using specialist teams, marine units, or dredging where necessary. The fact that authorities return to water-focused searches underscores both their thoroughness and the hard reality that sometimes the initial passes miss something small that a specialist sweep can detect. Community response has been both a strength and a complication. Locals have organized vigils, offered meals, and driven vehicles to ferry volunteers across rough tracks. Their participation demonstrates compassion and social solidarity, the very best instincts of rural communities. But it also adds an operational challenge. Large-scale volunteer involvement, while crucial for manpower, can unintentionally contaminate fragile traces if not carefully coordinated. That is why modern search coordination tries to balance immediate volunteer enthusiasm with controlled, methodical deployment. Registries for volunteers, briefings on what to look for, and strict guidance on how to move through potential evidence zones. Tensions arise when locals feel constrained by those measures, when media attention intensifies, or when private grief turns into defensiveness, as the shotgun threat sadly made clear. The public conversation has also been complicated by misinformation and online speculation. AI-manipulated images and unverified tips quickly circulated, forcing police and fact-checkers to spend time debunking false leads. That noise is not benign. It diverts investigator energy, it consumes volunteer goodwill, and it deepens the family's distress. Authorities repeatedly ask that anyone with potential evidence, a dashcam clip, a time-stamped photo, or a clear vehicle sighting, hand it directly to police rather than posting it publicly. Verified forensic material can be immediately integrated into timelines. Viral posts cannot. The community's role is therefore double-edged. Its collective eyes are essential for spotting late-arriving clues, but its collective voice must be disciplined so it helps rather than hinders a methodical inquiry. The human aspect cannot be overstated. Families in such circumstances live through a kind of public grief that is invasive and consuming. The Murray family's choice to remain largely silent in public interviews may be protective or strategic. It may also frustrate a public desperate for answers. Investigators frequently point out that public statements are not the same as cooperation with detectives. Many families choose to give information privately and prefer to avoid the glare of cameras. That distinction matters when readers and viewers try to interpret silence as evasion. The best help a community can offer a family in sorrow is dignity and patience, even as it presses for transparency that aids the investigation. What investigators continue to do is practical and painstaking. They reconstruct precise timelines by logging calls and messages, check vehicle movements and fuel receipts, canvass neighbors door to door, review aerial and dashcam footage, and re-interview witnesses with focused, repeated questions to test consistency. They reassess the initial search areas, test any remaining physical impressions with controlled casts, and follow up on any new tips, no matter how late, that can be corroborated. That is how cold leads become hot leads, through patient verification, forensic comparison, and cross-reference detail. The public can assist most effectively by offering verifiable items to police and by avoiding the amplification of rumor. In the weeks ahead, the case's outcome will turn on small, documentary things: a time-stamped photo, a neighbor's sudden recollection of a stranger's car, a fuel docket that places a vehicle near the property at an odd hour. Those may feel trivial, but in detective work, they often form the threads that create a coherent picture. For now, the land around Oak Park Station holds the answers tightly. The searchers, investigators, and community are not done. They continue to gather, test, and retest evidence. They continue to ask the simple but urgent question that lives in the chest of every parent: where's Gus? If you have any verified information, a dashcam clip, a photo with a timestamp, or a clear recollection of an unfamiliar vehicle or person near the homestead around that afternoon, hand it to South Australia Police. Do not post unverified claims online. Keep compassion at the center of your conversation. Families under this kind of strain need dignity, not derision. Investigations need facts, not noise. And communities need patience as the methodical work of detection quietly attempts to turn grief and uncertainty toward answers.